So here we go, climate change, myth or reality? Climate change skeptics have argued some years ago that the climate is cooling, not warming. Okay, so there's these two authors, Easterling and Wiener, in 2009. They published a paper, a scientific paper, in a journal called Geophysical Research Letters, and the title of this paper was, "Is the climate cooling or warming?" And it's actually not really a scientific research. It is just using scientific results to illustrate the question. Okay, let's have a look at that. So all that Easterling and Wiener did is actually they looked at outputs. First of all, they looked at observations. Okay, they looked at observations of variations in the global average temperatures. Okay, this is one example here from 1975 to 2010, something like that, and you can see that there goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, and so okay. You see the hiatus period here at the okay. So all right. So what they did is they just took individual periods, yeah, and looked at what happens to the temperature. For example, 1977 to 1985, it's 8 years of, you can see there's sort of temperature stayed relatively similar. Okay, you can use also 1981 to 1989. And there's some variations in there, but sort of you can also claim, oh, it stayed the same. There's some variations. Indeed, okay, indeed, you can see from the entire line that there is a trend, positive trend. This is the global warming, and you can only see that trend if you look at time scales of 30 years. You can't see the trend if you pick only 10 years of data or fewer, okay? Because the fewer periods are biased, you might call it, through ocean variability like El Nino events. Or what you also can have is if there are some large volcano eruptions, you get a transient cooling effect. Okay. So now the next step that what these authors did is they looked at the forecast by climate models. Let's have a look how that looks like. So this is a climate model forecast, going forecast until the end of the century. Okay, and you can see again these variations in there. This is actually a signature of how the model represents El Nino events, essentially shows you these variations. And you can pick different periods, for example, 2001, 2010. Indeed, this is what we discussed, the slowdown here. And we can pick 2016 to 2031. And in this period, again, there's apparently no temperature change, no significant trend in that, but the entire time series on longer time scales of 100 years here is this clear, pronounced trend that comes from the human-induced emissions of greenhouse gases. And in this case here is the prediction of 4-degree change. Okay, 4-degree change, and that is remarkably similar to what Arrhenius stated or derived more than 100 years ago. Okay, so that's this bit of the story about myth or reality. Okay, what is global warming and how can you identify it from time series? And also we talked about the warming slowdowns and accelerations. And this is what we all see in the data and in the model forecast.